bronze medalist in the 2003 Utah Winter Games and is a best-selling author. This topic today is structured silver kills bacteria, viruses, and yeast. Please welcome Dr. Gordon Pedersen.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I know I'm the last speaker, so if I go real fast, you guys won't mind, right? Anything I want, I like that. Now, with that in mind, I've got an advancing slide advancer. Just do it here. This will be good then. I'm going to do a little bit of shocking demonstration here with some facts. There are more bacteria in your mouth than there are people in the world. It gets better. It gets better. Mobile phones have 18 times more bacteria on them than a toilet seat. Chances are it's yours, but what if it isn't? Researchers found 1,458 new species of bacteria in belly buttons. That's just in the last 10 years. Now, I don't know if people enjoy this one as much as my daughter does, but after 2 weeks of wearing a pair of pants, you will have grown 1,000 strong new colonies of bacteria on the front, 1,500 on the back, and 10,000 in the crotch. You can see I'm building a case for silver here, can't you? You can think, well, maybe, what am I going to do with that? Well, silver in the laundry, silver is a spray, silver can be used in a lot of different ways. The average office desk has 400 times more bacteria than a toilet. A dollar bill has 3,000 types of bacteria on it. And they said that 90% have cocaine on the dollar bills. I like this one. When two people kiss, they exchange between 10 million and 1 billion bacteria. Sneezing, don't you love this? Sneezing spreads bacteria and viruses an average of 15 feet around the person who sneezes. Computer keyboards can carry more than 200 times as many bacteria as a toilet seat. And how long do germs live outside the body? In other words, I went to the National Health Services and I found that influenza lives in open air after one sneezes for 1 hour. On a tissue, it can survive 15 minutes. MRSA can survive 2 days in the open air. Cold viruses, several hours. And the reason why is there's several different kinds of colds out there. And croup. You know that cough that everybody goes, oh, I'm on antibiotics, I'm okay, I'm not contagious anymore, and I cough like this? Well, they found that 4 to 10 hours it's still active in open air. Salmonella and E. coli can survive 1 to 4 hours, while the herpes virus is alive and well for 4 hours out in open air. Now, I intended to freak you out just a little bit, but because you're doctors, you're going, there's got to be a solution. There's got to be hope. Yes, there's silver. It is purified to 99.99% pure, and it is structured with water that is a structured water, meaning subjected to steam. In other words, this water begins as steam. It is as concentrated. It is vortexed. It is actually subjected to a deionization and dissolved solids are removed. So that's why structuring water is a much more pure place to start. Then 10,500 volts of electromagnetic pulsing energy distributes 1 molecule of silver at a time into the water, making it an energized alkaline structured silver with this type of chemical structure. What that is 4 water molecules with 4 silver molecules permanently attached into a crystalline structure. In the last few years, silver is emerging as the most patented item the last 2 years. In places like needles, the silver needles, because they're bacteria-free and prevent bacteria, are starting to become patented, surgical equipment. So silver is being used in many places, but look at these journals. These are the journals in the just lately that have published on the benefits of silver. JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine, Bulletin of the World Health Organization, Nature, International Journal of Nanomedicine, Journals of Virology, many, many, many more. These are just in the last couple of years. So what is the power behind silver? It destroys foreign invaders, bacteria, viruses, yeast. Structured silver is the strongest and fastest of silver because of its alkalinity. It can cross membranes faster because it's alkaline. pH that is acidic, which means all other silvers are acidic, they have a response from the cells of the body, and I'm talking about the bacteria cells in the body, becoming resistant to that particular type of acidic silver. So they close off, and if you can't get into a membrane, you're not going to kill it. For that reason, I have found by looking in a microscope, if you can't kill a bacteria within 2 minutes, if you haven't penetrated that cellular membrane within 2 minutes, like Star Trek, up comes the shields, up comes the force fields, up comes a change, and the bacteria can resist the penetration of that silver. So the fastest silver does truly matter. And in this case, structured silver kills within 2 minutes, documented by myself, documented by the Townsend letters and independent research, and other silvers take much longer because they're acids. It can be used with antibiotics, and this is the big reason that I'm here today. I did a research study, and I published it in Current Science Journal. And what was found was that you could take liquid silver with your antibiotics, and you would enhance the antibiotics killing ability by 10 to 100 fold. And I thought that was really remarkable because at the same time, you could actually reverse the resistance of the cells in the body because silver activates and mobilizes stem cells, actually healing those cells of the body. Well, the most magnificent part of this, and I'll cover it in a few minutes here, is that Harvard just released a study 2 weeks ago, almost word for word to my study of 7 years ago, which is that if you'll take liquid silver with your antibiotics, you're going to increase their activity. You ready for this one? 10 to 1,000 fold. So they identified that, in fact, we had come up with 10 to 100 fold. Theirs, in their study, actually stuck their neck out to say an antibiotic being 1,000 times stronger, and documenting again that in fact the resistance, the bacterial resistance, is being remitted at the same time, which is meaning antibiotic resistance. So what that means is, you know what, I'll wait just a minute when I get to the slides, but I'm excited about this because you know what, this is the bridge between allopathic and traditional medicines and the naturopathic world. Why? Because now, thanks to Harvard validating the studies that we've been publishing for the last 7 years, we can take silver with antibiotics and should do so every time. Then, when people are done with their 10 to 14 day regimen of antibiotics, what are they going to do? They're going to quit taking the antibiotics, but say, I now know that protection lies in an alkaline, everyday silver. And we can now have a crossover where we both can see benefits, and I think that will work. The power of silver is used internally and topically. Daily, we're starting to see new scientific research discoveries. It works faster and better with antioxidants, for instance, meaning silver kills the pathogen. The antibiotic can help clean out the destroyed cells so there's not such an ongoing healing crisis. And because it's water soluble, the silver, it does not penetrate the membranes of probiotic bacteria, which have a self-secreted milky fat layer around themselves, so we don't have that problem. And by the way, doctors, if you want proof of this, take a 4 times normal dose of the alkaline silver and find that you do not create diarrhea, documenting that, in fact, normal bowel movements mean you didn't kill the good bacteria. Papers are one thing, demonstration is another. So with those things in mind, there's a number of different things that I want to show you. One is this: structured silver molecules during the manufacturing process. Now, first of all, you're going to see a rod of pure silver, and it's not much bigger around than a pencil lead. Then you can see that all the little floating pieces or molecular structures of silver that are being dispersed into the water. But look at the wave action. So look down at the very bottom, and it is absolutely a wave, because every 10,000th of a second, a wave or pulse of electromagnetic energy at 10,500 volts is being sent through that electric rod, and it passes from the one rod that's positively charged to the negative charged rod, producing waves. Waves of individual molecular structured particles. Let's take a look up close at that. This, for the first time, is actual visual evidence of the waves of structuring water with silver, and you can see the individual particles being literally wave-like dispensed in there. So why is silver in a structured form different? Well, structuring and alkalinity has a greater impact on the cell walls and the pathogens, causing them to die at a greater rate. What that means is better and faster killing. Alkaline silver penetrates the bacterial membranes to kill faster and more completely. It works well with antibiotics. Silver destroys the pathogens by interfering with replication or causing cell wall damage. So knowing that, when bacteria begin to divide, they have to elongate and stretch out. Silver causes the inner lining of the membrane to become so thin in a defensive posture that when the cell elongates, it becomes long enough that the membrane can no longer stay patent, or in other words, it pops. They call it apoptosis. Silver works, and here's a picture. I do have video of this, but it's been so difficult to run. I'll have you see it on my website. But here's a picture of the bacteria. These are normal bacteria. And you can see that some of them are beginning to divide by having a line down the middle. When they're exposed to liquid silver for 1 minute, this is the result. The membranes rupture. The dissolving of the central orientation of the bacteria takes place. Yeast dies. Viruses become interfered with. And antioxidants help gather up the cellular damage for faster excretion of the germs and inflammation. Here's some pictures of that. This is an apple, one apple. I sliced it in half. I took liquid silver and 1 pump spray on 1/2, as you can see illustrated with the silver and the side with no silver. In 5 days, the side with no silver was subjected to bacterial and fungal contamination, which rotted it quicker. You know, the inner linings of the arteries and brain tissues are subject to similar problems over time. This is a block of cheese. I cut it in half. I sprayed 1/2 with silver, 1/2 without. The fungus that grew quicker, faster, and more was the side without silver. So I took it to a human. This is a toe. A toenail fungus, you can see, is listed where it says fungus. And after application, it gets rid of the cause of the foot odor if the liquid silver can penetrate down deeply enough to come in contact with the germ for 2 minutes. It could kill it. So let's talk about alkaline silver liquid It looks just like water. It's clear, it's colorless, it's used orally and topically. It doesn't have a smell, and it kills the cause of smells. In fact, a pump or two of a liquid silver on a tennis shoe will render it odor-free within 1 minute. It's virtually tasteless. It's purified silver and structured water. No preservatives, additives, or artificial ingredients. Maybe, by definition, it's the most all-natural organic substance of all nutritional supplements. pH of 7.5. So it works with the immune system. It does not create barricades or structures that resist the influence because of an acidic-natured silver. Antibiotics and silver. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. We've already seen a number of bacterial infections that no longer respond to any drugs we have. Does that scare you? That should scare you. That should scare you more than you know. That should scare you more than... more than any scary movie I can imagine. In the U.S. alone, antibiotic-resistant infections are associated with 23,000 deaths and 2 million illnesses every year. Now, those are estimates from the U.S. government, but think about 2 million illnesses every year because they took an antibiotic and it became resistant, or they trained themselves to not be able to fight this. In the synergistic tests, the antibiotic was made 10 to 100 times more effective at killing bacteria because, quote, the silver killed the residual bacteria that the antibiotic couldn't. This is my publication in Current Science, 2006. When you recognize that silver can kill over 1,498 bacteria strains, and your best broad-spectrum antibiotic kills 23, why do they dare call it a broad-spectrum antibiotic? 23 out of over 1,400 is not broad-spectrum. So you can see that if you take an antibiotic, you can put yourself at significant risk, but when you take it with silver, you can see that even though the silver can work on all those different bacteria, it can render the antibiotic ability to be 100 times stronger in my research. Now we go to Harvard that says 1,000 times stronger, published in this journal, Science and Translational Medicine. Harvard studied it, validated by Boston College. A small amount of silver made E. coli bacteria between 10 and 1,000 times more sensitive to 3 commonly used antibiotics. So what you're dealing with here is, if you're pre-treating or taking silver every day and then have to take an antibiotic, you've basically set the groundwork so that these 3 antibiotics, gentamicin, ofloxacin, and ampicillin, will work 1,000 times better at max, but at least 10 times. It's proved useful against stubborn infections that usually require repeated rounds of antibiotic treatments and visits to the clinic. So when you get these patients, and MDs have given antibiotics, it's always the naturopaths that get them next. You've got to help this rash. You've got to help this infection. It's almost always a dormant bacteria with a very thick outer membrane, or it's agglomerated together, or it's a microbial slime layer called a biofilm that has very difficult times to be entered into. The silver or antibiotic has a difficult time penetrating. This is a quote from the Harvard study. In addition to that, the results suggest that silver could be incredibly valuable as an adjunct to existing antibiotic treatments. There you have it. I have a study. Harvard has a study. Boston University has agreed this is the way to go. Think about this. Can we actually, as naturopaths, many with the right to prescribe antibiotics, begin to responsibly use them with antibiotics to reverse that problem of resistance? Yeah, we can. So every time somebody takes an antibiotic out of your mouth if you so agree with this research, should come the words, are you taking silver with it? Because we already say, are you following up with 2 months of probiotics? Well, the answer is you've got another additional tool. Silver, antibiotics, and probiotics are now synonymous. If we start the world to believe in probiotics and silver whenever antibiotics happen, maybe we'll cut the use of antibiotics in half. Maybe even more than that. According to this study at Harvard, silver helped antibiotics fight a previously impervious strain of E. coli sensitive to the antibiotic tetracycline. In other words, the silver set the groundwork for tetracycline to kill something that was not being killed by tetracycline previously. Then they allowed vancomycin to save the lives of 90% of mice with life-threatening cases of peritonitis. Without silver, the vancomycin, only 10% of the mice survived. This is absolutely Nobel Prize-winning stuff. This will change the world's lives. This will change the way we use antibiotics. This will be taken by naturopaths first to the world, I believe. Now we have Harvard and Boston and my studies and others that are starting to see that in fact we can use antibiotics wisely and in their use cause their actual disuse at the same time. Now, over 50,000 people died from taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs last year. That's a number that's staggering to me, to be taking something for 7 days because you've got a sore ankle and end up with a bleeding belly and die from it. Well, to put this into perspective, aspirin, acetaminophen, and ibuprofen caused that many deaths. Only one person had an adverse reaction to silver last year, and it was cosmetic from homemade silver. And according to the Health Canada research that was just published 2 months ago, there's only been 30 cases of Argyria in the past 30 years in North America. So when somebody says you've got to worry about Argyria, this will turn you blue. Before you go out and invest in Avatar, you are not going to be turning blue. You know that, number one, the structure of silver will not turn you blue. It's the old forms of silver in their ionic form that could do so because they fell out of solution. Now, with that in mind, every single case in the past 30 years has been from a homemade silver. So naturopathic doctors should be saying, what silver are you using that's made from GMP facilities? Which facility is giving you high quality silver of the same number every single time that has a lot and a batch on it? Why? This is not much different than prohibition, where alcohol that was made out back by somebody in the woods had somebody go blind because of poor quality control. While their solution was to put all of the alcohol manufacture in the hands of certified GMP-type facilities. Same thing here, guys. I want this to be known. I stood as a witness at Health Canada's trial on silver, and it was reversed based on that testimony that 30 people in 30 years does not constitute an epidemic of blue men. And the blue man, by law now, has been taken off Health Canada's warning that says this product may turn you blue. And they're seriously considering, based on that trial, to reverse their suggestion and actually recommend you buy silver from a place who has a reputable GMP facility. I hope that common sense comes through to you, and facts, more than emotion, tend to go, you know what, I dare to use this silver now. Dare isn't the case. This is a proven product. In 2013, A bacteria was found in New Zealand that is resistant to every single antibiotic known. And according to the medical journal Nature, the average American child has been given 10 to 20 courses of antibiotics by the time he or she reaches adulthood. Do you believe that? Have you seen worse? Yes, and it comes to you in the form of autoimmune diseases, doesn't it? Because we destroy the immune system, we destroy the digestive tract. It is estimated that half the antibiotic prescriptions may be unnecessary. I predict 1 in 10 of those antibiotics are necessary if we'll employ silver probiotics. Silver before and during antibiotic use and probiotics after, so that we do have a way to talk to medical doctors in their own language, which is, oh, we don't use antibiotics at all. That comes off as condescending. I'm an MD, I am a PhD, and I'm a naturopath. I know what they say. They won't listen to us when we say, oh, we don't use it at all. What if we could say, when there is an antibiotic used, it should be used in combination with silver and especially supported by probiotics after. We will change, I believe, by at least 100-fold the amount of antibiotic prescriptions given. Is that a good thing? Is that a terrific contribution? I believe it is at the heart and mission of our system. Now I'm going to get to the rest of the story, Paul Harvey style. Most of our antibiotics, however, are used on farms. Look at these numbers. Of the approximately 100,000 to 200,000 tons of antibiotics made each year, 80% are used on animals, which find their way into McDonald's hamburgers, the steak you buy, the chicken you eat. Tyson Foods and McDonald's are now trying at high petition rates to stop using antibiotics in chicken and beef. I know, I've been to Tyson Labs. I've taken gallons of silver. They've noticed that it works. Are we making inroads? Not quite, but we've planted a seed. Get this, scientists are predicting on this graph that they say the deaths from antibiotic resistance caused by the farm, caused by the beef and the chicken on the farm that get antibiotics injected into them, the antibiotic resistance will exceed deaths from cancer by the year 2050. In not too many years, 34 years, they predict you will see more deaths because you got a scratch, a cut, a sneeze, and you got infected, and oh, we're sorry, there aren't any antibiotics to save you. In this same presentation that I saw, they rejected my request to present this silver information. I don't know why, but the reason that I have multiple medical degrees is because of common sense and because I always had a family member who either was septic and I had to use something more than drugs, or I had a brother who has Crohn's disease who they said, we've done everything we can except cut out another section of his intestines. So I'm here to tell you that the people with common sense often have to go through a whole lot of hurt to get there. And then, look at this common sense. Most antibiotics are made from bacteria anyway. Did you know that? That one just, I don't know why that one makes me laugh almost. The strongest creatures measured on the face of the earth are gonorrhea bacteria. I know there's a joke there, but I don't have time for it. It's been measured that they can pull 100,000 times their own body weight. So when we start talking about resistant bacteria, it's because antibiotics made them that way. And they are so strong because they have not died, instead mutated from too much antibiotics. Yet silver can kill. Do you realize a water-soluble silver gel is of the same texture and feeling as KY jelly, a personal lubricant. And yet the silver kills all sexually transmitted diseases. All! why are we ever going to use KY jelly in recommending to our patients ever again as a personal lubricant? No. Now is the time for silver gel because it kills these very bacteria and all other forms of sexually transmitted diseases. Now, this is a paper, this is the actual letter and my signature on it, and that stands for XDR-TB. That's a photograph of tuberculosis. You realize it's making a comeback because of antibiotics? XDR stands for extremely drug-resistant tuberculosis. Isn't it ironic